Welcome to the Down There Where podcast. I'm Amy Milne. This is the show where we get loud about women's below-the-belt health from menstruation to menopause and everything in between. So many women continue to silently endure issues like endometriosis, PCOS, menstrual disorders, and menopause-related challenges without the proper support. We're done with the whispers. We're here to break the taboos, share the stories, and have the conversations no matter how uncomfortable. Whether you're dealing with your own health journey, supporting someone who is, or just ready to join the movement, you're in the right place. Let's get loud. Perfect. So let's roll.
Go.
All right. Shayne, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, I am a longtime love of Amy Milne.
I'm blushing.
Like in so many different crossovers that, this is just such a pleasure to be here and conjoin like this and to be collaborating in this way.
Yeah, I love it. So Shayne, you and I met, or like, I don't know, do you say meet when you meet online and you haven't really met in person? I feel like that's what the kids say these days, right? Like, this is my friend from like the internet. So
I do that a lot.
Right. So we were introduced to each other through a mutual coach, our Hinacon. And I think that's where our relationship started. And then I think we kind of like followed along each other because we were in the group. And then, I think like you shared before we jumped on that maybe you stalked me. Like, I'm usually the stalker in my relationships. So it's kind of nice to know I'm not alone.
It was actually, you went on the 6 a.m. call and she was talking to you about your big moves.
Yes.
Because it was all about making big moves. And you were talking about how like you went to Collingwood and this like woman was like, no, this is your house.
Yep.
And you had like felt like this is my house. And she's like, I've saved this for you kind of thing. Like it was like this total like moment. And I was like, oh, you can move out of the city and love your life, right? Because I was a Torontonian. And you'd never move out of the city.
Yep.
And then I just kept following your story. And so because I'd been looking at moving here, and then I was like, I'm just going to reach out to Amy and see what it's like. And you're like, it's amazing. And I think you live on a Carmichael too, right?
I do. Yep.
And I do too. In a different area.
Yep.
So it's like,
well, we had
super stalk.
I like super stalkers. I think the best relationships come out of stalking.
Yes.
Not in any other context other than ours.
Yes.
Because I think it's a known stalking. Let's go with that before this gets really weird.
Yes. It's equal.
It is equal. It's known. Well, it's funny because when we first moved here and we do live on a Carmichael, we had to be very clear that because everybody thinks I live in Collingwood and I'm like, no, I live in the Blue Mountains. And people are like, come on, Amy, the area is called Collingwood. It's like, no, because there's an exact address of mine in Collingwood. And so we tell people we moved to Blue because that's technically what our address is. Because in the beginning, when we told people where they lived and they didn't pay attention, they showed up at X number on Carmichael in Collingwood.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. It's too bad we don't live with the exact same number because then I could really manage that for you.
That could be a lot of fun. Like, here's your welcome cocktail and now you're going to Blue Mountain.
And here's the directions.
Yeah. So you followed me to Collingwood and we're living our best lives here. And then through that, at the same time, we are co-authors. You were a lead author in a book best-selling book that we are both writers in.
Yes. So that was a big moving here. We're talking to my friend Kirsty who moved to Prince Edward County. It seemed like people moved up here or moved there.
Agreed.
And there was no other options. It was like those two. So we were like, let's like write a book about this because there were a bunch of us going through the same transition. And I was like, I know who I want in this book.
Yeah.
I want my trailblazer in the book. So I reached out and you were like, all aboard. And it was, interesting. Knowing so much more about you from that context and reading your chapter was just like, this woman is like a little bit of everything, a little bit of magic.
You're so sweet. Thank you for that. Writing the book, I loved it. It was an interesting experience in so many ways. And I would say the only thing I'm bummed out about is that we were at the end of COVID with our book. And so we didn't, I watched a few other books come out after ours and they got to be together and they got to have the booklet. Like the event person in me is like, damn, we didn't get to like do it up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of a bit of a wah, wah.
Yeah.
Like it was
But we had a
amazing.
beautiful relationship as a group. Like I loved our chats and I felt we had this really neat community that wasn't just about the big launch either. Like we were there supporting each other in a really unique time as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because a lot of us had similar stories related to that time, right? And we were all going through things. So it was a beautiful way to kind of just like ground in.
Very much
and
so.
just really also kind of feel, I think, more confident in your choices, right? Like there was no second guessing when you're writing the chapter. You're like, oh my gosh, like this makes so much sense.
Yeah, and we'd all moved around a time, like, because I know for me, like we moved a year and a bit before the world shut down, and so I'm now not only in a community that I know no one, the people like yourself who I started to get to know, we couldn't even hang out. Like you couldn't even start to build those in-person personal relationships at the time. And we're like new in all of our communities in which we're all living in and writing about. Like it was a wild time.
It's true. It was wild.
But we did get together and sign our books together at your office. And that was pretty cool.
That was fun.
So you have an office. And so tell people who you are. So you are Shayne, and what do you do?
I'm Shayne. I'm a massage and movement therapist. I've been that for over 25 years.
Crazy.
I grew up in a healthcare family. I went to school for kinesiology. When I got kind of frustrated with like giving people guidance on what they needed to do, I was like, nope, I need to get hands-on too. So I went to school for massage so I could do both.
Okay.
Be hands-on and then be like, here's your homework. A little bit of both. And then through that, I'm also a woman who, in that time got pregnant, had some losses, had some pelvic floor issues. At that time, I did research and there were 3 pelvic floor physios that I could find in Toronto.
What?
Like it was like, whoa.
Wow.
So I went for pelvic floor physio, figured out like one day I was coming in the house and I had my daughter who was like not even a year and I tripped. So of course as a mom you go like full like I'll take all the brunt. And I happened to have a visit with my pelvic floor physio the next day. And she was like, what happened to you? And I was like, oh, I fell yesterday. And she's like, because like all the work we've been doing, like it's really, you've got a lot of tension. And that's when a light bulb was like, why are we just spot treating? Like why is, like obviously I didn't fall on my vagina. Like fell on my shoulder and then my body. And then, so I'm like, so then I went back and did an extensive training into movement related to core and pelvic floor health, recognizing that it is a full kind of body connection. Like everything is connected, right? You can't just spot treat. And that goes for everything. It like kind of opened up my whole practice. That like, yes, you have shoulder pain, but that doesn't just mean it's a shoulder. It doesn't mean it started there.
Right.
So yeah, and I was happily doing that. Moved here, opened my own little practice, to have 2 girls. They're thriving here. And then I started having a health issue. So I've always had this different breathing pattern when I would exercise. So I've been diagnosed with asthma several times throughout my life. And I'm like, I never use a puffer because I'm like, it doesn't do anything. It's not the puffer. Like, I don't know what it is. And then the lovely shutdown of the light of the world happened. And I had to wear masks to treat. So I'm convinced that like the microfibers in the masks added irritation to a situation that was already, like I already think I had a narrower trachea. So the trachea is a breathing tube that exchanges air from the outside world to your lungs. And it's actually like cartilage. So it stays open. But I think mine was probably a little bit narrower. and then you add these like little fibers that are potentially getting inhaled,
Right.
creating irritation. You can also look at the lens of not being able to use your voice during that time. And then there's shutdown in that regard too, right? So I had a health issue that just continued to decline.
Right.
And again, asthma's not the diagnosis.
Right. And you're being treated for something that, like, you're not being listened to and no one's helping you, and it's actually getting worse.
Yes.
And
So
breathing is kind of important.
It's a pretty big one. It's pretty big on the list of top 5. It's probably one.
Yep. Pretty much.
Could be up there. But then but also it was confusing because it felt like a lung thing, right? Not being able to get enough breath in. So I'm like, what's going on with my lungs? Like, I did all these different practitioners, acupuncture. I was doing like those like masks to try and open up the lungs. I actually found sound healing very helpful.
Interesting.
So I was doing sound healing with Justine from Lotus Sound.
Okay.
And then she did a combo restorative yoga with my friend Amy. So I did that for about a year, and I did individual sessions with Justine. And doing that, I would feel like things would open. So I too thought it was more my lungs, right? Like, because a session with Justine, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm getting expansion through like my rib cage, and I feel like I can take a bigger breath. And then it continued to decline. And I was like, this is getting crazy. And at that point, like, it was so, I can't even express how bad it was. Every single breath I took, I thought about. Like, imagine every time you breathe, it's just in the back of your mind. I'd be like, you have to shallow breathe so people don't hear you. Also, it's a respiratory thing, started during a respiratory shutdown. So you're also like, people are going to think I'm sick. I would have to clear my throat. I'm like, I'm not sick. I just, like, and I ended up sounding like Darth Vader. Like, it was crazy. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything with my kids. Like, it was like, we should go for a hike up Blue Mountain. And I'd be like, I can't. Like, I just physically cannot do it because I can only walk on flat ground. Like,
wow.
And I was starting to realize, like, there's no help here. This is where, I was trying not to get too emotional, but there's no one help. Like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
And one of my friends was finally like, we went for a walk, and she was like, you've gotten really bad, and you need to go to the doctor and see. Like, take another kick at the can.
Right.
So I went to the after-hours clinic because at that point we didn't have a doctor.
Right.
It was a whole other can of worms we could get out. So I went to the walk-in attached to the hospital, the after-hours, and immediately, like, the admin, this is part of the problem too, right? Is because people treated me like I was like, infectious control needs to be called. Because it was very audible.
Right.
And so, like, the nurse was like, you need to get a mask on. And I'm like, I can't even breathe.
Right.
I can't breathe through that. So no, I will not be. And then I went in to see the doctor. And he was like, I have no idea what's wrong with you. And I was like, oh, this is fabulous.
Right. But honest answer, at least, like, I don't want to take away from that moment for you, Shayne, because that's devastating to, like, be on what feels like your last breath every time you breathe and to have someone say, I don't know. However, to have someone say that versus like, oh, I think it's this, and like you get dismissed.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was like, oh God, he doesn't know. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, he's being honest. Like, that is nice that you're not like, here, let's try this inhaler. And so he was like, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to call it merge. I'm going to tell them I think you have a collapsed lung. And when you go in there, I want you to play it up. And I'm like, play it up? Like,
you're like, I really can't really breathe.
And I walked into a merge, And the woman in triage was like, "Are you Shayne?" And I'm like, "Yep." And she's like, "Come in through triage." Took me through the back. There was a whole like section ready. They're like, "Lie down." They had respirology there. They
Wow.
had like a whole team of people like hooking me up. And I was like, okay, this is amazing, but crazy. Scary. But not. Like they were like, yeah, it was like calm. I'm very calm in those scenarios. So I was just like, oh, this is amazing. And they're like, there's nothing, like your heart, like everything's fine. And I'm like, I know, I just can't breathe. Like I know this. So they sent me for CT. And then they were like, there's nothing we can do for you again, because I'd already said like nothing works. Like puffers aren't going to work. Steroids aren't going to work. And they really had no clue. Like which I'm kind of shocked that like as a respirologist,
Right.
like the respirology, I guess she was not like a doctor. She was like a PT maybe, but I'm like, you know, like you never come across these like weird things where you're like, I've heard of this.
Right.
This was written about in
this
nursery
journal.
rhymes and you know?
Yeah.
And so they're like, so they sent me to a specialist who was in Barrie. And when I went to see her, she's like, I know what this is. This is like the most common thing I treat. And I'm like, what? And she's like, oh, what? Yeah, it's called idiopathic subglottic stenosis. So idiopathic means no known cause. Subglottic just means it's below, we have a flap that covers the trachea so we don't swallow food down there, right? So it goes down the right tube. And then stenosis just means narrowing. So it's a narrowing of the trachea. Scar tissue builds around it. And that makes it hard to breathe. And scar tissue isn't very...
it's not pliable. Like, I mean, it's the same thing we, like those of us who've had endo and any of the, like, you know, we go from throat to below is like the scar tissue, like it's nasty stuff. Like it impedes movement.
Totally. Yeah. Pliable is the word I was trying to, that's awesome. Yeah.
Teamwork.
It's not. So teamwork. Yeah. So then I had to go to Toronto to have this procedure done. I mean, in the hilariousness, because she was like, you know, it's like a 20-second procedure and we stretch the scar tissue to break it up. And I was like, listen, I have been practicing and I can hold my breath for 20 seconds. And she's like, no, we put you under. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Oh my God, that's the best.
Right? I'm like, of course, because there's no way they're doing that and I'm conscious.
Right.
There's no way.
But I'm glad you thought
head,
so.
Like, right? Well, because I also don't feel confident and comfortable in the system like that. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I got this. I can hold it 20 seconds. We're good. And she's like, no. So that's the issue.
Okay.
In doing more research, she's a great physician, but in doing more research, I've learned that this condition is very common in women age 40 to 50. Which I was like, might there be
a connection,
a hormone attachment to it? A hormone piece. But there's no research on that.
That's weird.
Right? It's shocking.
No research on us? Like, come on, the 7 cents on every dollar that's raised. Like, what do you mean we don't know why you can't breathe?
Nothing. No. No research, which is, so now I have done my own research into things. I actually have a tool I use for scar work because one of my passions with massage is helping with C-section remediation and helping because, you leave the hospital with the baby and they're like, you're good to go. And I'm like, scar tissue is actually a big fucking deal in the body, like a big one. And many women are detached. Like I've treated women who 20, 30 years after their C-section have never, ever touched that part of their belly again.
Wow. I just got like full body Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It's heartbreaking because it's just too emotional. It's too much of they don't want to think about it. They think it's like gross or ugly or all of these things that they're just like ashamed of that area and they just don't come in contact with it.
Wow. Is
Yeah.
it tied to they didn't, I mean, I guess everyone is different, but is it like for those women who didn't want a C-section, they wanted natural, but they had to go in, or someone forced them to have a C-section, or is it just general? There's no one specific type?
With the older women, I don't think they even knew any better. Like it was just like, you know, they were in their 60s or 70s, like we're going back a
Yeah.
while now. And they were just like, I didn't know that I should. And it was just, you know, it just felt like unattractive and like a shame, where they just didn't feel connected to that part of their body anymore. And there's like numbness that can happen,
Okay.
right? So
Right.
then you don't know what to do with that and you just ignore it. Like people ignore a lot of crazy
Right.
things overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think a lot of women now, even in trying to like, you know, get women to be more hands-on,
Mm-hmm.
it's just they're not comfortable or confident with it. Because I will treat it, but then I'll also instruct in like, you know, from home care,
Mm-hmm.
you want to do stuff. So again, it becomes more pliable. There's also the idea that it looks fine from the outside. So they're like, it's great. But I'm like, but they also sutured the uterus. And there's also other tissues that are like compounded and can get stuck. And that stuckness can impact mobility. It can cause back pain. It can cause shoulder pain. It can cause like infertility issue. Like there's so many things that can ripple from the stuckness of those layers. But
Wow.
when it looks fine from the outside, they're like, yeah, I'm good. My doc says I'm good. I've all like everything's recovered. And I'm like, yes, and maybe not.
Right.
And it's like there's no harm in you mobilizing it,
Mm-hmm.
um, and like treating it and just staying on top of like how it feels or how it's shifting. Because some parts can feel great and some parts can feel really stuck down.
Interesting. Like well, and I think, I mean, I've had a lot of surgeries in my life. And so I was very I was not attuned to how much help I could get when it comes to like pelvic health and all the things that could have benefited me, because nobody shared that, and nor did I think to even look, to be honest, because you're just like, you'd listen to the doctors and you go on your way and you kind of just like, this is where I'm at. And I think of, for so many women, I have so many friends who had C-sections, and that could possibly be the first and only time they've ever had major surgery or even had surgery. And you're pretty much like, to your point, you have this major surgery and then you're handed a
Major.
baby, like major, and you're handed a baby and you go home. And you may not have even, you might have, like, I listened, one of my most favorite podcasts was The Retrievals. I don't know if you've listened to it, but The Retrievals season 1 was was all about women's pain in terms of when they were retrieving eggs, and women were
Yes.
complaining about the pain they were in, and the doctors were like, no, we're putting fentanyl in you, and they were putting more and more fentanyl, and then the short of the long story is there was a nurse that was stealing the fentanyl. So these bags actually didn't have fentanyl in them. So these women were actually in pain. And then season 2, and if you haven't listened, it might be of interest, is all about women in C-sections. And it's so good, and it's disturbing, but good at the same time, because it talks about how, like, we don't put women under, we like numb them. But yet, if you're having, like when I had my hysterectomy, I was fully under. But yet we all of a sudden think women want their bodies open and their babies put on them. Like, isn't the first time you meet your baby, like someone's making that decision versus like, isn't the first time you meet your baby when you meet your baby, regardless of your body being open or closed?
Yeah. I mean, as someone who's had a C-section, I actually, and again, I advocated for the natural or a gentle
Okay.
C-section, which was not done at the hospital ever before. But my midwife was like, I will talk to the OB. They're on board. You're good. And that was just a series of things like delayed cord clamping, immediate skin to skin, sometimes they will have like a clear sheet
Okay.
between you and the surgery. Sometimes they'll drop the sheet. There's a whole bunch of other things that can be incorporated. But I think that I don't know that I would have wanted to be out for it.
That's fair. And I
Yeah.
think and that's very fair. I mean, and I think that's where we have choice. I think
Yeah.
a lot of what they were talking about was like women who were in the midst of this surgery saying, I can feel every piece. Like I can feel the knife. I can feel the clamp. I can do, and them asking and not being believed.
Yeah, because you are only numbed.
Mhm.
So I could feel like, I guess my baby was a little stuck. And so I could feel like I was like, what is happening? Like I could feel this like almost like she was doing CPR on like the left side of my ribs
Right.
to try and move the baby down. So you can feel things. Again, I'm also maybe an anomaly because I'm not bothered by those things because I'd rather be
With it.
aware of
Okay.
what's happening.
Fair.
But yeah, I could see how, like now going in hindsight, I could see how that would be uncomfortable for a woman to be feeling those things if that's not the choice she wanted
Right.
to
And
make.
especially like you made a conscious choice for yourself of like, you wanted this experience and you
Yes.
had someone who listened to you and helped you with that. If you're the woman who just was like thrown on a gurney and told this is what was happening, or if it was an emergency situation and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, 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 and I think part of not so much part of the argument, but part of the conversation was about, again, we're not offering choice, right? Like, does every woman want that experience? You didn't want to be put out, but maybe someone would, so it's like, there's no choice. There's just this study that was done in the 50s that says we can't put women out, even though it's one of the most major surgeries anyone will ever go through because of the amount of stuff they're opening up in your body. So it's informed by old studies. It's not informed by there's choices. Like, I didn't know you could ask for a lighter option C-section. Like, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, because it wasn't really a thing.
Right.
Like it was, I had to research it. It wasn't known. Nobody like they didn't
Offers
know.
it.
But I will say though, I think part of the problem is having improper birth plans. I don't know how things have changed in the system, but there should be a birth plan from start to finish so that but a lot of women also don't want to think about having a C-section when they're pregnant. And so it's not part of a birth plan as to how that might go if you're not going to be open to the idea that it might happen. And I appreciate both schools of thought. I appreciate you don't want to think about it because I know a lot of people who home birth. I home birthed the first one, not the second one. A lot of women who free birth completely outside of the system. And so if you're not putting some sort of like contingency plan in place, then when that time comes, if it's emergency, you don't really have options because they're like,
there's life and
they're there to save life. They're not there to be like, let's have a conversation.
Yes.
But to your point, when in my beautiful choice of a gentle cesarean, while I am open on the table, she asked me if I wanted to get my tubes tied.
How is that
And I was like,
time to ask a woman that?
And I was like,
What?
no, like what? Why are you even asking me this? And she's like, well, if you know you're done at 2, you're already here, we could just do it now. And I was like, what? This is not informed consent. Like this is
no.
Yeah. So, someone else might be like, you know what? We did talk about just having 2 and this makes sense. So sure. But that's not like informed. That's not really like you need to have all the things in place.
And you need to not have all of your fucking hormones and all your body open, like to make that decision at that moment. Like, and like,
so that was shocking.
What the fuck?
Yeah. I was like, how about we just do what we're here for?
Yeah.
Let's not add extras.
Like, I didn't add that on. It wasn't like I checked that in the like, would you like fries with that? Like, that's just not what happened.
Right?
What the actual fuck?
Yeah. So that was shocking. I remember that now. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's okay. No,
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
How about you just sew me
Thanks.
up?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because like my whole thing when I was pregnant, I was like, I just want these fuckers to sleep. So I was like, I didn't have this. I just wanted the babies out, and not in this like horrific way, but I was just like, someone's going to help me do this. And so I trust in what's going to happen, right or wrong.
Right.
That was kind of my thing. And so, but little did I know, I developed preeclampsia. And so then I'm pretty much put in the hospital, and it's like your baby, he was 2.5, 3 weeks early, but like my blood pressure was off the charts. I was gaining 2.5 pounds of water a day. Like it was like, this
Yeah.
baby's got to come because you are not well. And we had a friend who sadly had passed away a couple of years earlier in childbirth. She was in a smaller, she wasn't in a major city center hospital, and her preeclampsia, I can't think of the one where it goes next. HELLP is, and so it was too late, unfortunately. And so when I got pregnant, we were kind of living in this haze of having just lost Adrian.
For
And
sure.
so my husband, when he's like hearing all this stuff, was like, we got to, this is not okay. And at the same time for us, we're like, we've just lost, like, we know what's going to happen or could happen. And so I all of a sudden was almost forced with the decision of like having to have a C-section. And I wasn't tied to either way. I was just like, get this baby out no matter how it keeps us all safe. But if you're not,
Yeah.
but I also know there's like women who are like, this is how it's going to happen. But it's almost like you need both. Because like if I think of, and not equating women's health to like events and stuff, but I have a plan and then I have a rain plan. Right.
Totally.
And I think there's something really honest about having like, here's your natural birth. Like, are you at home? Are you in a hospital? Like, what's your perfect world scenario? And then here's what could happen.
Yeah.
And how do you want to be treated?
Like the WHO, World Health Organization, says 10 to 15% of births should be C-section. Like that's a reasonable amount. But like in Canada, last time I checked, it's at like 28.7%.
Wow.
So when the percentage is that high, like you said, you need a rainy day plan. And I think that can be part of it. If you haven't planned, then you feel powerless in that whole situation. Because when you're in the hospital, they're going to do what hospitals do. And their point is to try and save life. Right? So they're doing what they think from their perspective is the best thing. And your wants, desires, needs aren't met, unfortunately. Yeah. It would be nice if we had a more holistic focus in hospitals, but like they're busy. That's what they got to do. And they do it, and they do it with sometimes poor bedside manner.
Yeah.
And so even if they did it with more compassion and empathy, then maybe so many women wouldn't have issues post cesarean, like with like failure or regrets or all of these. I should have done more. It's something that's wrong with me. All of those things, and then the fear. So many women will have a cesarean and then not want to have the second one vaginally because they're just too afraid and traumatized from that experience. They're like, I can't go through labor and then have the C-section again.
Right.
And it's like, well, that might not be the outcome, but I understand what you know.
Right.
Like, sure, like that makes sense. I wouldn't want to either if I'd had a traumatic
that's
first
just
experience. Right? So then the power comes in having the choice. But is it truly a choice when, they're speaking from fear?
Right.
And previous experience that was tarnished.
And then the aftercare isn't there in terms of like, you just went through you went through emergency surgery. Like that's a thing. Yeah. And, to not have, and obviously you're sent home with a kid and we've all got to figure it out no matter how it comes out of our bodies. But like when it's been tied to trauma, it's, where does that live? Where does that stay? It stays in our bodies. We know that. And if we can't process it, and now, when you bring it back to like that part of one's body and the scar tissue and how it can immobilize us or even cause someone to think they're not okay is heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like one of the happiest times of your life, and for many women, it's not.
And so you find these women, so you treat women, which is amazing and I love it. And, do people come to you specifically because you are holistic in this way and you help women from this postpartum place is part of what you do? And I mean, I think that's magical. I didn't even know someone would help with that before I met you.
Yeah, I mean, I try and be whatever they need.
Right.
So I'm not rushing people on the table. I'm not rushing people out of the room. I often, spend a little bit more time maybe than I should or do follow-up stuff. Not that I should. That's so stupid. I don't like to shit on myself. But like, where I'm like, oh, someone else is coming. I
Right.
should really, but I just want women to understand that anything that's happened isn't their fault, that their bodies aren't broken, that we need to reconnect with that intuition. We need to feel things in our body. We need to be connected to our entire body and not disconnected from these areas. And we need to be more compassionate to ourselves and give ourselves some grace, not be so hard on ourselves, and move from that place and try and move on from there and whatever they need. So if they need to chat more, great. I'm not a therapist, but I can listen. And a lot of these women are not heard.
Yep.
And then I can advise you need to go to your doctor and talk to them about this. Or, sometimes in treating a scar, like a C-section, like post, sometimes there's like swelling and inflammation. I'm like, you might have an infection under here. You need to go to the doctor and check this out. Because they're just like, I've had women who've come in and them like, they never once looked at the healing. Wow. They asked, how is it going? Good. Okay. Not once did they do a follow-up investigation, check out the tissue, how it's healing, anything. And I'm like, seriously? Like, that's bare minimum they should be doing.
Yeah, because our fine, like as a layperson, not knowing what's happened to our body, not being the medical professional, what we think is fine may not be fine. Like if we've only ever had one C-section and our scar looks like oozy or whatever or not or perfect or fine, like we don't know if that's correct.
No, and I forget the percentage, but a lot of C-sections end up with some sort of infection, right? Because it's in like an area that's just like you can't help but there's pants on top, shirts on top,
Babies.
You've got a baby. You still have potentially the belly that's overhanging, so it's creating like a moisture.
Yep,
I hate
you
that
said
word.
moist.
But it's creating like the perfect
place for infection to grow.
For things to grow, right? And then they say, don't wash the suture. Like you want to like be careful washing it. So then you're not cleaning it properly, and then
you're sleep deprived in this whole experience. And so like and again, as we all know as women, and we're trying to reclaim this for ourselves, is like we don't give ourselves enough time and space.
No.
And we certainly don't when all of a sudden you're being given a human to take care of, and it may be your first, it may be your second or fourth or whatever, but where you fit on the list is pretty low.
We do fit pretty low on the list.
And we haven't prioritized ourselves, and nor has the environments in which we're in a lot of the ways, right?
No, unfortunately, yeah.
It's like, you've done this job, so now just get on it with it. It's like, but our bodies aren't okay. Like, I feel for our friends in the U.S. who, I've got a lot of girlfriends in the U.S. who had to give up their careers or like took, and I've watched some of my friends' families give up, a certain lifestyle because how do you go back to work after 6 weeks or 3 months? Like,
I don't even understand that.
You still have stuff falling out of your body. Like,
Yeah,
I still was putting stuff in petri dishes going like, is that normal? Like, I can't imagine. Like, we
totally.
talk about periods and poops and all the things on this podcast. And it's when, we've talked a lot about like in the menopausal state, like as we're like, we have crazy period moments. So what, you're 2 months postpartum and you have a giant blood clot fall out of you while you're at a presentation?
Yeah,
Like, what the actual fuck?
it's crazy. I
don't get it.
my heart breaks for that.
Breaks.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I don't.
And you're lucky if
I
you get the 3 months, depending on what your living situation is and your financial space and your
Yeah,
insurance, right? Like I don't even get it. I don't even get it.
no, I was not functional enough to be able to go back
Fuck
in
no.
any capacity like that.
No,
No.
not at all. And you just do it. Like, I mean, again,
Yeah.
none of that is correct. A lot of what we've had to deal with as women is correct. It's just been the way, which
But
is,
they're also in a culture of that is
yes,
the way.
100%.
So it's like, well, your girlfriend did
Yeah.
that and your aunt did that and your
Mhm.
cousin did that.
So is there something wrong
So
with
you
me if
should
I
be
can't?
Yeah, like it's a culture that gets created and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm the bad one because I want to be outside of
Right.
the system of
Yeah.
what has been created. I mean, we're very lucky here
We are.
that we get a year to 18
Yeah.
months, depending on what is possible, but the year at least,
Mhm.
like that is. But then, in that year, are we getting good supports to help through? It's great to have time off.
Yeah.
It's great to have that
Yeah,
protected,
for sure.
but also you have enough in place
Right.
to support the moms.
Right. And to your, to the holistic care perspective, it's like from the moment you go home, there's so many things that there's specialists and people we could be seeing. We could be seeing someone like you who's going to help us through our C-section or, if we've had a vaginal birth from a pelvic health perspective. Like there's so much that happens to our bodies that, which is why I'm doing a lot of what I'm doing. And I think you've been like all the things we're doing in the women's space, and we're just getting louder and coming together to do it. But it's like, we've got to share this information because there's so much we can be doing from like day one to help
So much.
ourselves so that we're not sitting in middle age, not quite sure why we're peeing when we laugh or why we're still having these crazy or like periods or, why I haven't touched my C-section scar. Like, opening this dialogue and, even to the point of like, it's just normal and it's cultural. It's like, we can just be able to say that, like just being able to walk down the hallway with a tampon in your hand or having, right? Like there's so much about what we as women have had to deal with that's like literally been put under a blanket.
Yeah.
And it's time to rip that
And even
blanket.
we're marketed like depends younger and younger now. Like those little poise pads to collect your urine postpartum. So it's like, great. So we can put our kids in diapers and then we can just stay in diapers because you just do. After birth, you just pee a little bit. No, we shouldn't normalize that. It means there's something going on dysfunctional in your body.
Yeah.
And you can address it and you can get better. But that's not what the culture dictates, right?
No.
It's like,
well, and
here you go.
And to your point, 3 pelvic health, like again, I have lived in this world. I've done the best that I can. And I didn't even understand that pelvic health, like I looked at it and went, fuck, it's outside of like, I'm already paying for all these other things to get better. All right. And then it's like, oh, it's covered. It's physio. It's like not just, fingers in my vagina. It's like, it's going to help me. It's muscles. Like it's so freaking good.
Yeah, we're very lucky here in Collingwood area because we have a lot of pelvic floor physios and a lot of prenatal and postpartum care. So it's a very, like a lot of the people, like the women I treat, they'll say, oh yeah, I'm already doing like pre-birth pelvic floor.
Cool.
And then post, they're in like baby and me classes focused on that. So that's really great. Like we're very lucky because I think it's bigger in the city too now. Obviously, there's a lot more clinics. I looked the other day and I was like, oh, it's really
There's more than 3?
There's more. That was just like so shocking.
Yeah. Well, and I think the more we ask for it, the more we share, the more we say, is this normal? Is this right? Should I feel this way? then your friend who's been of a friend of a whatever is going to be like, actually, no, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And there's services and more popping up every day for us to get the care that we need. And there's still a shit ton of work to do, but
Yeah.
just one or two more people knowing they can come and see you, like someone listening and going, oh shit, I haven't touched my scar. I need to, like, what? Like, just to question what we've known, I think is so important.
Yeah. And I think it's funny because I feel like I'm a bit of a black sheep. I'm sure you're a bit of a black sheep outside of like the norm. Um, and I think more people need to be willing to ask questions and push for what they need. And so many people, and I understand why, like I feel empowered because I know enough, right? So I can go into a doctor's office and be like, no, thank you. And I know that's intimidating, but you still, like, nobody gets to do anything to you without you saying yes to, I want to look into this treatment. Like, you don't just like, okay, that sounds good. Like, do the research. What are the pros and cons of things? What other options are there? Like, informed consent is not just like you saying yes. It's understanding side effects, risks, benefits, alternative options. And then you taking all that information and weighing it against what feels comfortable for you, not to, as a woman, be a people pleaser to whoever the practitioner is in front of you. Like, it's so important to advocate for yourself, especially in healthcare, because our system, I just heard yesterday, nurse practitioners have been delisted, I think. Is that what it would be called? So that there was an issue with funding from the federal government and Ontario provincial government. And because they didn't meet a deadline, apparently nurse practitioners no longer get funding in clinics. Yeah. So people are losing
care.
If you were with a nurse practitioner, you're now getting like shuffled around.
We're
So
already
it's like
limited.
these things were already limited, right? And they're seeing an increase in like emergency room visits because of that then. So we're already seeing like things falling apart. So just like make sure you're advocating. And there's so much outside of what is considered like mainstream that can be helpful. It's just finding what fits for you.
Yeah.
You know, I would never say, and this is a big one. I grew up, my family are chiropractors. So, and as a massage therapist, like a lot of people who are like, I would never go to a chiropractor. And I'm like, that's cool. I believe in that practice because I've understood it so thoroughly. But if someone's on my table and I think, oh, like there's something going on in your back, I would like you to see someone else. And if they say, I don't want you to see a chiropractor, I would never be like, no, you're going to see a chiropractor.
Right.
You take that information as a practitioner and you're like, okay, let me think of alternatives that might be beneficial outside of what I can do. And I don't know that enough practitioners are doing that, like especially as doctors, right? It's like, this is the word.
Well, and I think, it's like, because it all comes down to what we know. Like, we're humans at the other side. Like, all these, like, you're a practitioner, you know as much as you know in your interest and what you've gone to school for and what you've researched. Like, there's no way, like, that's why that's why we all work on teams. It's all like, I don't do my job by myself. Like, why would you do your job by yourself, right? And we've got to work together. And you're open, right? Like, you're open to saying, like, I can't do all this. Here are some suggestions. Where so many times we're in situations where it's like the yes, no. And like, it kind of reminds me of when I like wanted to get I'm going to equate us to cats and dogs right now, but like I needed to get my cat had fallen off the balcony and I was like not a teenager, but I was in my 20s and I went to the vet and I was like, what are my options? And he told me and I was like, oh, I don't know if I have $1,000. And he was like, well, I guess your cat's going to die. And I was like, what? Like, there's no other option. Like, and you didn't even give me a minute. Like, I knew my cat wasn't in trouble. Like, I wasn't like bleeding on the table. I needed a minute to make a decision.
Yeah.
But I think so many times we're in a situation where it's like, well, it's your choice. Like, and so the human
Yeah.
side of it isn't always there. And you have to be a unique human to be a doctor, or if, like, I've learned a lot as a frontline, married to a frontline 911 human. Like, there's a difference in how people think and compartmentalize and stuff. But then that's where, like, if that's how they are, then we get to say, we just need a minute. It doesn't mean you're saying yes or no. It's just, we need a minute. But I think sometimes because it's so hard to get into people and there's so much mixed information, and even more so now, like, I mean, why not see a chiropractor? Like, here's why. Like, again, here are what people do. Make a choice versus like, well, my mom said chiropractors fucked your back. Like, okay, right? Like,
I know.
it's just, we just need to take a pause. And to your point, and I think this is what I've always been, I'm always been intrigued by you, is like, what you know, but you're always like, and what else? And I can do this much, but have you thought about this? Like, you're very open on your social too, in terms of like, these are your thoughts and opinions, but ask, and what do you think? Right. And not a lot
Yeah.
of people do that. And nor do we allow ourselves the opportunity to even give ourselves an hour to look at stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I part of me saying like I don't know is also like putting it back, like, you're part of the conversation. Like, what are you feeling about this? Or what is your gut? Like, are you open to something different? Are you not? That's cool. But then, like, how do we come to what's best for you in the context of this conversation we're
Yeah.
having, so that you can leave feeling I have something, a plan, so to speak. And I can leave feeling like, okay, like we've helped you in that way.
Yeah.
And it's not like, because a lot of times too, you have one-hit wonders who come in. And I don't want to just leave people thinking, boom, that was the end. I
Right.
want to be like, okay, your next steps, here are some options. Obviously, I hope they come back
Right.
if that's,
Yeah.
but the reality is I don't want to just leave with like, well, that was great. You
Yeah.
got a massage. Have a great day. I want to be like, okay, so this is what's going on. Here are some options. Look at this. I'll send them some follow-up. Because I don't just want it to be a transactional hour. I don't want any time with me to just be a
Yep.
transactional in the moment. I want it to be, let me try and open up, and also let me kind of learn, like, yeah, I can ask for what I want, or I can advocate, or you know what, I should maybe take a moment and just like, how does that feel when I like after I go for a run? Because people come in and I'll ask questions and they're like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure. So it's like, okay, so do that and see, is that aggravating? Or is it something else after the run that brings it out? Like, so you can piece, if you love, that's another thing. I would never, so many practitioners are like, stop doing that then.
Right.
I'm like, if you love it,
Right.
I'm never going to say stop running.
Right.
But let's modify and let's see how we can get you back to where you want to go.
Right.
Versus like, no. Because I mean, like, David Goggins is still running marathons on no knees.
Yeah. Right. Like, anything is possible. You have to be open to the possibilities. And
Yeah.
not often is one asked, or are we as women connected to our bodies? Or, like, there was a couple weeks ago, my sister was here, and a girlfriend, and she was talking about like nervous system something. I was like, oh yeah, I've done this and whatever. And she's like, okay, so you see this kind of doctor, you've done this kind of thing, and you do this and you do it. She's like, you must just be like a really well-heeled person. I'm like, well, yes, because I'm actually really proud of that. I'm like, but I've actually been open to all the different modalities to see what works, because I was so closed in how I was dealt with as a young woman up until my hysterectomy, that I was just like, I was literally given a path. It was like, it's surgery, it's drugs, it's surgery, it's drugs. And there was no research. Like, there was one book, there was no one to talk to, all those kinds of things. And so I'm like, so now I'm just going to try it all. Like, she mentioned something, I was like, I did sound healing, but I fell asleep every time. So I don't know if it works. Right. But like, I'm literally open to any of it, and then have like come into my body in terms of like, how does that feel? What do I like?
Mhm.
Has it helped? Because I just think there's no one recipe.
No, it's actually the sign off of my email is stay curious,
I love that.
right? Just stay curious. Just
Mhm.
don't shut doors. Just ask questions and be like, oh, that's interesting. Why is it?
Mhm.
Why?
Yeah.
It's just like go down and just maybe it's not a road you want to
Mhm.
take, and that's cool, but you know,
Mhm.
right?
We have to listen to our bodies because, like, I know the more I get into my body, and if I'm sitting there and I'm like, that's not like, you can feel it, right? Like, as a Manny Gen, I've been taught to, like, now that I'm like living into that, is like ask myself questions. Do I want the red mug or do I want the blue mug? And the more I'm in tune with myself, I literally am drawn to one or the other. Like, I literally have, like, even if it's a spark of something, I can be like, no, I don't want the red mug. Like, the blue is speaking to me. And so the more you kind of like ask yourself those questions, like, does this feel good? Does that answer feel right? Like, your body will tell you,
Sure will.
and we've got to listen.
Absolutely. We've got to listen,
Mhm.
and that's the hardest part is turning that back on
Mhm.
because so many of us have shut it down for so many reasons.
Totally.
But like getting back into, I mean, even down to the basics, like when you have to go to the bathroom,
Mhm.
listen and go.
Right.
Right? How, oh, I'll hold it. I just have, no, just go.
Yeah.
Because your body's sending you a message, and every time you override these things, you get more and more disconnected.
Mm.
Right? So it's just starting simple with something like that. Okay. Or I'm tired, but I gotta know if you're tired, then like let yourself go to bed
Yeah.
early
Those are
and
really
deal
good.
with it the next day.
Right.
There's very few things that can't be put off for a good night's sleep.
Right. Or a nap. I'm a big napper. I mean,
Or a
I know
nap.
that I have a lifestyle in which, or my working relation, my working from home means I can, but I sometimes have naps. And when I was going through recovery of things or whatever, like, naps were a part of my day. If you can schedule a lunch hour, and if you're unwell and you need to, like, even if we get colds and stuff or whatever a case may be, like,
Yep.
if we need to rest. If you need, and I
Yes.
think I think the simple of like, how many times do we have to go to the bathroom? And we're like, no, no. And that does damage over time.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And if we have to rest,
Right.
sorry,
No,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I'm just like, but we also, if we have to rest, it's not like zoning out on
No,
here.
agreed.
That's not resting.
No,
It's like,
I've even been really paying attention, and Shane, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening, Shane picked up her phone, but I'm like, I'm trying to like manage like where I've got anxiety and what, like, because it came back all, because I'm on a bunch of like, I've got a doctor who does all sorts of like, I'm on natural stuff and hormones and all the things. And I'm like, why am I getting this panic back? And then I'm like, literally, as I like pick up my phone or look at email or whatever the case may be, I'm like, what am I doing that's getting that feeling back? And so some of it is when I pick up my phone when I should be doing something else, not out of guilt or anything like that, but just like, I could be doing something else.
yeah.
Like, it's wild.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, so we could talk forever, and we didn't even get to talk about the fact that you are now not only helping people with their bodies, but also on the financial front. And so I would love to just take a few minutes, because I think I love that you take care of of bodies, and now you're looking at people's finances. And I think that's so huge, especially for women, because we don't, it's another place that we ignore, many of us ignore.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about, like, tell the listeners a little bit about your transition and what you're now doing, or on top of what
So
you're already doing.
if we track back to the beginning when I talked about my throat thing, it was so bad that I honestly was like, I have to start planning for my family's future. So, and I am someone who likes to dive in to learn so that I'm educated about it. Even though I ghosted our financial advisor for 10 years prior, ghosted, like, nope.
Turtled?
So yeah, the whole thing, like, he'd email me or call me like, "Hey," I'd be like, "I didn't hear that, nope." So I was really concerned about my health, and I'm like, "I need to get them sorted." And so I took the course. I'm a licensed finance advisor in the insurance sector. There's two different sectors.
Okay.
There's a banking sector and the insurance sector. But I can do a vast swath of things
Okay.
like TFSAs, RESPs, as well as life insurance. So I went down that path because I wanted to get my own house in order. And from there, I'm like, wow, like a lot of women were like me and they just ignore it and, ghost their bills and like forget. Like I had a pile of like unopened envelopes for statements and stuff. So I really want to go into it though from a lens of stress. Like people come in all the time and one of the foundational stresses is money. And so it's living in their body and I'm treating it. Now I can't work with people I massage, oddly enough, because it's part of my license, which is fine. Because I still will offer information because I think we need to be informed. But when it comes to women, like 90% of us will be in charge of the family finances at some point in our life, right? Because our partner passes, we're single, whatever it is. And so many of us don't have the tools or the knowledge to manage anything like even remotely. And we do, like I got RRSPs because I saw it on the TTC every day going to work about the power of compound interest way back in my 20s.
Right.
Smartest decision I ever made. I invested for a year and that has grown exponentially over the last 30 years. So good move. But now I'm realizing so many of us aren't even putting anything away. So even the smallest amounts, like starting with like $50 a month, like any little bit you have that you can pay yourself first because the government takes a lot from us and we should try and give ourselves some back like right away so that we do it and automate it and make it an easy no-brainer. Like how many subscriptions do you have that are automated that you don't think about? And they're just going out. This one is one that goes into your future.
Right.
And it's funny because when I had this thing and I, because of COVID and being locked down, I've always thought about like having a secondary income. There's been a lot of like multi-level like product companies that I've looked into. And none of those models work for me because I still have 50 oils in my closet from when I did the monthly, like I still have stock from all of those. So when I came upon this with like my health and everything, I'm like, this one makes sense because this is a subscription that you need for later in life.
I love
like
that.
It's not stockpiling products that you love but don't necessarily need.
Right.
Because they come on the monthly. It's like going towards your future and looking at what realistically you want for your future goals. And it's scary. I know. It's scary as fuck. No. So many people are like, oh my gosh, that sounds so interesting. And then they ghost me forever.
You're like, saw that, done that, been there. Yeah.
And I get it because like I was so afraid. And then your nervous system shows up. Like, so when I came to my financial advisors, I would go into total freeze mode, right? Like I don't want to deal with it. But when it came to my husband, and if he would question something, I get super fight mode. Like, who are you to ask how I'm spending money?
Right.
Right? So our nervous system shows up. We react to conversations about money. But those reactions are not us responding in real time in a way that allows us calm and clarity for how we should actually manage our money. And so that's the lens that I'm trying to help women and families look at. I don't know why my doorbell just rang. Hopefully that turns out through that lens so that families can be financially secure.
Right.
Like for their kids' future, for their future. I mean, I could go down a whole rabbit hole of like wealth transfer and, with elderly parents, aging parents, setting kids up for their future. Like there's so many different avenues that are important to touch on, but you have to like sit down, talk about where you are, what you have, what your goals are, and what's realistic for you to invest in yourself on a monthly basis and go from there. right?
And I think the biggest thing, like, I know some of like my ghosting and my fear is like shame. Do I have enough? I'm an entrepreneur. I've like bootstrapped. I'm invested in my business. I'm, like, do I, I'm just speaking for like, do I have enough? Like, there's so many women, do you, and men, but like women, we think we can't do it unless we had like hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. But I love when you were just like, it's like a subscription. Start with $50. Like,
Yeah.
and because to me, it's like taking some of that, like shame, fear. I don't have enough. I'm unworthy. This won't amount
Mhm.
to anything. Like, there's so much tied. I mean, a lot of my money stuff, my parents, didn't fight about a lot of stuff, but they fought about money. And then in the end got divorced. And in the end, my mom didn't do as well as a single mom and all the, like, that's a whole other therapy session. But like, I didn't, it was like grew up in the not enough. And so I've been like more
Mhm.
generous in life, where then my sister is like a little bit more like, oh my God, will I have enough, and stockpiles. And so we all come
Yeah.
with that energy, but but it's so true. It lives in our bodies and our nervous systems. And
Yeah.
I think that's what makes you so unique, in the fact that, like, even though you wouldn't be able to massage someone anymore, but you've got all that like holistic, like, thinking and feeling and education to then tie it to the money. And I don't, and you're not pretentious in any of that, and you did it out of care of what you wanted to do for your family, which I think also makes you so ridiculously approachable.
Well, thank you. I just want to help
Yeah.
people. I mean, there's some easy things right off the bat is if you have like RESPs or TFSAs invested in the bank, what kind of percentage are you getting on that?
Right.
Because it needs to be outpacing inflation, like, quite frankly.
Right.
Um, and if it isn't, then that's problematic. And you need to look at how you can reinvest it. Like, if you got TFSAs, and it's amazing when people do this, and I'm not, it's like, yes, you're saying making a choice for yourself, but if you got TFSAs at the bank and they weren't invested in the market at all, then you're making maybe, hopefully, 1%. Like, it's like a glorified savings account,
Hmm.
and you don't want that. You want it to be invested so it's making 6, 8, 10%, depending on what your comfort
Right.
level is with your investment portfolio. And the other thing is, when couples have TFSAs, make your it's only if you're married,
Right.
make your spouse a successor on your TFSA, not a beneficiary. Yes, that too.
Mhm.
But as a successor, if something happens to your spouse, you take over the TFSA. If you're the beneficiary, you take the money, but you have nowhere for that money to grow that's tax-free.
Hmm.
So you take over the TFSA. Now you have two TFSAs that are growing instead, and then you take out money as you need.
Right.
But it's like, that is just that's the one I tell
Right.
everybody. I'm like, if you have a TFSA, you need to check this.
No, I love that. I mean, I think any tip when it comes to the financial side of things is so, I mean, our financial literacy is not as good as we need it to be on so many levels.
No, because we all learned from our
Right.
families. We weren't taught anything in school.
No.
So your money story comes from how your parents
Hmm.
dealt with money issues
Hmm.
and conversations. And then it's your own
Yeah.
experience of how you've gone through life with money. And money is the only relationship that is with you from birth until death.
Mm.
When you're born, money isn't a factor in what happens in your
Hmm.
upbringing. And then when you die, it is still even beyond, because there's taxation on whatever you have
Oh,
left that
yeah.
goes to, your
I dealt with that when my dad died suddenly. There was, probate and all this stuff that's just lost. And I mean, that's again a whole other episode.
which is why I love the insurance sector, because there's
Yeah.
protections. I mean, it doesn't go through probate. You get paid off sooner. Like, there's a whole bunch of protections in the insurance sector that they don't have in the bank,
Mm.
which is why I'm like so passionate about trying to help women and families with like protecting it that way, because you don't want people taking more of the money that
No.
is deserved
We
yours.
like, and why? Just like, it's so, yeah. So many so many questions. I think, Shayne, we could talk forever and ever. I know this. We have so much in common. We needed to write a book together so we could like have what we need to say in the world like in print forever. So
is there book 2?
I think I've got some ideas. But there's so much gold in this conversation. I know people are going to want to reach out to you. So how can they do that? If someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
I have a website,
Okay.
ShayneHenderson.com,
Okay.
SHAYNE. On there, I have both of my business focuses. And then on my Instagram at Shayne.Henderson, I primarily do finance stuff on there because I find that's where more of the questions come through.
Great. Perfect. We will link that in the show notes. And thank you so much for your time and your expertise.
And before we go, I want to say thank you for all you do because this, I know, is a passion project, but it's so important. I'm going to cry now. It's so important to have these conversations and make this information accessible for women because women need it. Like we used to be in community and now we're so isolated, and this kind of stuff helps bring women together, breaks down the stigma, and hopefully there's more conversations happening in small gatherings, in like women's circles and other, friends getting together that like have the ripple effect that I'm sure it does. So thank you for being such a rock star.
Thanks. Just hanging out here in my underwear. One conversation at a time. Thanks, friend.
Well, we'll have to do that together one day.
Sure can. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for getting loud with us today on the Down There Where podcast. If this conversation resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you never, ever miss an episode. And leave us a review. It would help us reach more women who've been told to suffer in silence. And here's the thing. Awareness isn't enough. We need action. We need funding. We need change. That's where the Down There Affair comes in. We're a global peer-to-peer fundraising movement putting menstrual health center stage, from menstruation to menopause and everything in between. Diseases affecting men receive twice the funding of those affecting women. Only 11% of research dollars go to women's health. We're here to change that. Visit downthereaware.org to register for our next walk, start fundraising, or join the movement. We can't do this alone. Oh, and follow us on social at the Down There Affair, because this conversation doesn't stop when the episode ends. Whether you're dealing with your own health journey, supporting someone who is, or ready to demand the care we all deserve, you're in the right place. Getting uncomfortable is where change happens, and we're never going back. I'm Amy Milne. Stay loud.
Oh, that was binge-worthy.